To hear past episodes of the Rap Radar podcast, what they got to do, B-Dot?
You got to sign up for TIDAL at tidal.com/on-air.
Yeah, that'll get you a 90-day complimentary membership.
Access to 50 million tracks and 200,000 videos.
TIDAL.com on air. Yeah, Rap Radar podcast, Elliot Wilson.
It's B-Dot.
B-Dot, what's up, baby?
Happy New Year.
Hey, man, season 3 flow, baby. We ain't playing this season, man.
I'm excited, man.
We got this guy out of Detroit, man. You see this right here?
It's cold in
Finally.
Detroit.
He don't leave Heaven Studios, man.
I don't blame him.
Royce the 5'9",
Yes,
man.
sir.
Nickle 9.
Yo, it is really an honor to be here.
Thank you, man.
Royce, I've been doing this a little long. Have I been doing this as long as you? I've never interviewed you.
Really? Wow.
I'm frightened right now. This is amazing for me. I don't think I've ever interviewed you. Have I? No, I did. I'm lying.
I was gonna say
I did with you and Marshall on the phone with the bad Me TV.
Well, you know Eminem?
Right.
No, I don't. He knows. I don't know.
But that was our first time interviewing though when we spoke on the phone that time?
That was.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
And that might have been the first time I interviewed them too.
We've did things together, you know,
Yeah.
but we just haven't done it. Yeah, you're right.
A lot of history,
Okay,
man.
yeah,
But,
man.
but the main reason we're here, you got this album with PRhyme. Now, we
Yes.
had a very extensive interview with PRhyme
Yep.
about PRhyme 2.
Great interview.
We were shocked that PRhyme happened. Now we get a PRhyme 2, man. Like, so just off the bat, man, knowing what a student you are in hip-hop, like, what is it like that you're really now in a rap group with DJ Premier?
Man, it's so surreal. It's so surreal. I mean, it's a dream come true. It's a dream come true. I said this earlier in the earlier interview. I actually wrote a letter to D&D back in the day when I was a kid. I had the Bahamadia. Yeah, I had the Bahamadia single. And, you know, they would put the D&D address on there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, I was in a group with my man Calvin. We were the main focus back then, right? So it was like, yo, man, let's write a letter to D&D and let's see if we can get in there because we need our vocals to sound like these people's vocals. We didn't have any concept of like studios and how it works and how you get your vocals to sound a certain way. We just thought if you went to a big studio, your shit gonna sound professional. Yeah. You know, so I wrote a letter to D&D Studio. So when I first signed to Tommy Boy, the first thing I told them was I wanted to work with DJ Premier. First person I worked with was Pharrell, but the first person that I wanted to work with was DJ Premier. I met Pharrell. Right. I'll tell y'all about that in another story. That's a crazy ass story. Yeah. But yeah, so we met and he was like, I'll work with him, but I have to listen to him to make sure that I like him first. You know, you don't just get to work with DJ Premier, especially not in the late 90s, early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So he listened to my 50 MCs Tony Touch freestyle from the Tony Touch mixtape. Wow. He listened to that, then he listened to some Bad Me See.
You remember what beat you went over on that?
It was the loop. It was the same loop that Dre used for the next episode, but it was just the actual loop. I rapped over the loop with no drums. So he heard that, he loved it, and we got in and we did a song called My Friend. Yeah. Kind of clicked with that one. It was received cool, but then we did Boom right after that.
Yeah, Boom was special. Boom was right. That was that was.
I actually, bro, I went to the studio to meet him to do Boom, and I got there and he was doing it, and I was like,
"This was at D&D or
this was at D&D?" Okay. I get there, I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy," and he like, "Nah, I'm making this for Capone and Noriega." So I'm like, "All right." So I looked around one corner, looked around another corner. I didn't see Nori or Capone, so I'm like, well, where the fuck they at? He like, well, they not here yet. I'm like, so I just had to twist his arm and get that from him. And then he ended up doing that same day. I can't remember what the song was that he did for them, but that shit ended up being a classic. What was it? It may have been the first Capone and Noriega beat, or was it the Locks beat that he did that day?
Because this is 2002, right? 2001.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta do my Googles on that one.
Yeah, but whatever it was, I remember it being like classic for sure. And I was like, damn, we banged both of those out in the same day.
Then the second one was hip hop, correct?
Third one was hip hop.
Oh, third one.
Yeah.
So you think Nori heard the Boom beat? Did he have a shot at it?
He didn't get a shot. He didn't get a shot.
What makes you such a good collaborator, man? This is your third group that you're in.
You know, man, I went like so long without collaborating with people. Like I stayed in my own shell.
Right.
And in my mind, I was like, great lyricist, great everything. And then I get in the group with Joe and Crook and Joel, and I realize I'm not as good as I thought I was. So once I started being able to grab so many jewels from other people and started learning that the collaborative process is just, it helps you grow as an artist. Yeah. I became kind of addicted to it, you know what I mean? So, you know, like, obviously when I got back cool with Marshall, I didn't plan on doing Bad Me See, it just kind of happened. Yeah. So that shit just kind of happened. And then when I got sober, which was 5 years ago, I was trying to think of a way where I can take shit back to the beginning of Royce the 5'9", when I was a little kid, 17 years old, rapping at the Ebony Showcase for the other rappers. and all I wanted to do was just fit in with the MCs.
Yeah.
And be considered the upper echelon of lyricism, just beats and rhymes. And I'm like, how the fuck can I do that? So when the idea of PRhyme came across my desk, shit, I hit PRhyme with it, and people was already like requesting that we do a full length project together anyway. So,
but it's amazing. Like I said, it's even amazing that it already happened once for it to happen again. Because you were saying that Premier, you know, he moves off vibes, right?
Yeah.
And like we heard notorious stories about, he also is the last one to come through with something. It's like he's missed out a lot of situations with artists. Like, how have you been patient? How have you gotten him to really focus and lock in and create these records?
we did it in spurts. Like PRhyme 1 started off as just the EP. That was the idea that me and him agreed on. I did 5 songs. He loved the songs, and I was like, damn, this just don't feel like it's enough. So I just talked him into doing 4 more. so it was like after we knocked out that 4, it was like, all right, yo man, what do you think about when we release this, not releasing it as Royce the 5'9" and Premier, but calling it something?
Right.
And he was like, what do you mean calling it something? Because I knew he was asking me, you mean you want to be in a group with me? I didn't word it that way.
Yeah.
I just said, yo, let's just call it something different. That way we can be affiliated as a brand. Kind of like how I did Slaughterhouse. And he was like, all right, what you thinking about calling it? I was like, why don't we call it PRhyme, but let's leave the P and the R capital for Premier and Royce.
But how'd you have this? You already had a store? How did you know?
I got sober, man. I got sober. Like my mind just started, it was getting out. I already had it in my mind.
Okay,
It was like it's
You were just
constantly
waiting for the right
a hamster.
time to
Yes,
spawn him?
I knew I had to bring it to him in spurts. I couldn't ask him everything at once because that should just be a no.
So what song on that first album do you think was the one where you guys really, you felt the magic?
It was the very first one. The very first song we did on the first album was PRhyme.
Yeah.
It was called PRhyme.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the very
The
first
whole
one.
idea, I remember my permanent prime and just
Everything.
the whole energy
He
of
sent
it.
me the beat. I felt like the beat was incredible. I recorded to it in Detroit and sent it back to him. He was in LA at a party with Joaquin Phoenix.
Sound like Primo.
Yeah. So he sent it. I sent it back to him. I was like, yo, you got mail. Just check that out when you get a second. He was like, all right, I'll probably check it out when I get back to New York. I was like, all right, cool. He called me back in like 20 minutes.
said he
Like,
called him on
yo,
his
what the
phone.
fuck,
Yeah.
yo? And I was just like, I think he was a little bit concerned about would I sound the same sober. He was concerned about that. So I think his thing was, will I get the Royce that I know I've learned to love as an artist over the years?
Right.
And once he heard that, I think it got him kind of excited. And that got us to 5 songs.
Yeah.
And then after we did the 5 songs, I had to try to get him excited again. So what I would do is I would go get a feature. I called Schoolboy Q, like, I need you to do this because I need to be able
so
to
you use the features to anchor.
He didn't know nothing about none of the features.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I just
I remember saying that,
kept surprising him with new people until we had a whole album.
Wow.
Yeah, you even got J Electronica. How'd you
Yeah.
pull
How'd
that
you
off?
find him?
Man, I got lucky, bro, because I can't get that nigga to rap on nothing else. Man.
And he's in Detroit all the time.
He in Detroit all the time. He very rarely answers the phone, and then he'll hit me out of the blue at like 6 in the morning. Like, he has lightning hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when I get the call from JLEC at like 5, 6 in the morning, I know it's not an emergency. I
Right.
know he just want to talk shit.
But how did you? But he has some hesitancy, obviously, because him and Guru created with Gangstar. But like,
Yeah.
you've treated always with such respect. Like, how have you been able to like strike that balance of like forming a group with him, but you obviously still give so much respect and homage to
Yeah,
the Gangstar.
I think it's due to the fact that I'm so respectful toward their lineage, and also I don't think that, like, I think people may have expected me to carry myself like I'm some kind of new guru or something like that. And when I didn't do that, I think it was received a little bit better. I think people when
This
you
is Royce being Royce.
this is Royce being Royce, and when you respect the culture, good things happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And even on this new project, man, I see that you salvaged some record like Black History. Why do you think that was important to keep?
We never planned on getting rid of it.
Okay.
You know, when I first did it, the original plan was to put it on my Trust the Shooter mixtape and kind of give them a preview as to what was going to happen that year. Only problem is PRhyme 2 didn't happen that year. It happened 3 or 4 years later.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like we still wanted to keep it. We didn't want to throw it away because we felt like it was special, and we also felt like it went under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was very descriptive. It was like, when I wrote it, it was intended to be the beginning of the album because it takes you all the way back to me being born.
Right.
It takes you back. It walks you through PRhyme and Guru's lineage and how our paths cross and what happens, what kind of special shit can happen when paths cross.
Right. You say you're tired of being underrated by lazy ass bloggers. Like, how do you feel about your space in the game right now? Like, how you viewed?
I'm cool with my space. I haven't always liked it. There has been things that happened in the past that made me a little bit self-conscious. I've been angry before. But, yo, man, since I've been sober, it's just been like, I'm just so comfortable in my skin now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get, like, anxiety around motherfuckers and shit. Like, I'm cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I'm not seeking validation in any way. I'm just not. You know what I mean? Because I've never felt fulfilled looking for it. Yeah. No matter who it came from. Yeah. Redman is like my idol. He called me the Floyd Mayweather of rap, and I wasn't fulfilled. I equated it to success.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think on the Death is Certain project, you said that you admitted to having like hard time competing with people on the charts and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, because, and it's crazy because people always separate street niggas and artists, right? For some reason. Street niggas want to be street niggas, artists want to be artists, but we are a lot alike because as an artist, we put the integrity and we put the respect first. And a lot of people that come into the game and they're not really artists, but they're more businessmen, they look at us and they wonder, like, why is he not going for all the money? Mm-hmm. Where it's just like, I'm not driven off money. Like, my art means everything. My name is everything. My respect is everything. My dignity is everything. The way that I move, I'm not somebody who you feel like you can just come punch in the face. Like, you know it's going to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you also know that I'm coming in peace. Yeah. And to be perceived like that means everything to me. It means more than everything. Right. You know what I mean? And I think street guys are the same way. They come into the game and it's like the ones with dignity, they won't snitch. You know what I mean? Like, they won't put it on the line for any amount of money. Their name is everything. Without their name, they can't even really make money. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I saw you had a picture with, he was talking to Cardo, right? Young producer who's killing it right
That's
now.
My young dog, yeah.
And you were saying positivity and longevity go hand in hand. So do you think that really is such an important part of how you've been able to, like, grow as a man and be so much more positive, but still keep the essence of who you are?
Yeah, it's the comfortable in your skin thing. It takes a minute. Right. But once you're comfortable in your skin as a person and as a man, you realize that first like the tough guy shit, it just don't work, man. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't mix well with business. It doesn't feel right. Anytime I've ever had like a super serious problem or it's been something going on where I'm at war or something like that, I did not like that shit. I didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like people being worried about me. I didn't like being paranoid. I don't like being places and I can't enjoy myself. Imagine we just sitting here right now and every 5 seconds you got to look out that window. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you got to have somebody walk you down to the lobby, or you can't go nowhere without a gun. Yeah. You rather get caught with it than without it. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, that's not a good feeling.
Right. And Detroit is a tough place.
Detroit is a tough place. And Detroit, you know, the aggressive nature of it and just the climate embraces the shit. So if you play into it, it just follows you and it gets worse and worse. You know, I remember I went out when I first started drinking and I first got on, because all of that shit seemed like it happened all at the same time. Like, one of the first times I went to a club, I got into a fight. That turned into another fight, and and then it got to a point where I couldn't go nowhere without getting into a fight. It just was following me. It was like I was so young and hot-headed, I wasn't able to see things coming and diffuse them.
Is this why you say you're able to handle your failures more than your successes?
I just got used to it. I got used to dealing with failures. I got used to trying to figure out ways to bounce back, and I got used to adapting to things being bad and coming up with plans based off of that. So when I finally got some level of success, like high levels of success, it was a little difficult for me to deal with, man. It was just difficult for me to deal with.
When did you first, you know, people that know your career trajectory, a lot of, you know, missteps, but your adversity is always conquered. Like, when did you first feel like you was starting to establish yourself and feel successful, whatever level that means?
You know, our perspective changes all the time. So when I got my first record deal, I thought I made it. Thought I was set for life. Like, I thought everybody that I seen on TV was rich. I thought Redman was rich. I thought everybody on Rap City was rich. You know what I'm saying? So
you had labels cutting different checks, a lot of offers. You was a hot free agent.
And then, like, I got I went and we started taking deals in New York, and Tommy Boy was definitely one of the labels that we took a deal with. I mean, took a meeting with. I'm sorry. Yeah. Took a meeting with Tommy Boy, and you know, like, they did the same thing everybody else did. They liked the music, but they didn't understand how to pull the trigger with me. You know what I'm saying? So I went out and started working with Drake because M played him my demo. And once word got around the industry that I was doing that, like, we want to meet with him again. You know what I'm saying? So I go back out and I meet with Tommy Boy again, and I played him the exact same demo that I played him in the first meeting.
What was on the demo?
It was just some demo songs that I had that never came out.
Yeah.
It never came out. Just very early 19-year-old
It wasn't like Rock
stuff.
City or early Renegade.
Nah, we went to that level yet. So I played them the same music, and they gave me $1 million deal. Woo. So like to us back then, $1 million, you're rich.
Right.
Yeah.
$1 million means rich.
Yeah.
Like if you say $100,000, it's like, yo, he got money. But if you tell somebody, yo, that dude got $1 million,
no matter how much,
especially in Detroit,
right,
you might as well have it in your pocket, walking around with it on you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they treat you.
with a pair of buffs on.
Yeah, exactly.
You're 19, 20? Like, how old are you?
Yeah, I was around 19, 20 years
So
old.
you told your girl that you're going to New York and
I'm not coming back.
with it.
My son was born, and I felt like I needed to make a move. I felt like I needed to make a move, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do until I start getting accepted at the Ebony Showcase. The way that felt, I knew that was the only thing besides basketball and boxing that I felt like I did well, and people cheered me for it. When I worked jobs, it just didn't click. I couldn't pull the trigger with one job that I had, and I tried so many different ones. So with this, it just felt right. My dad tried to send me to the Army. I said, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So if I feel this strongly about not doing that, I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But you said growing up that like you were really hard headed, and the only person that you would listen to was like Jay-Z.
Yeah, I would listen to Jay-Z.
But you didn't even know him at the time.
Bro, Reasonable Doubt was, see, music had that kind of effect on me. It just changed my life. Like if you figured out a way to put your rhymes and your flows, the patterns, and you introduce new verbiage to me, new flows, and just new ways of approaching beats, and I think you cool too as a person, I'm gonna do whatever you say. You know what I'm saying? So Jay-Z had that effect on me. Redman had that effect on me. Dr. Dre had that effect on me. Ice Cube and X-Clan had me rocking the fucking African medallions.
Yeah.
Calling women queens. I was doing that in high school, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Helter
Is that you
Skelter
think-
joint too?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
hell
that,
yeah.
is that something that you think helped you connect with Marshall? Because it seemed like he was always such a student of the game and being impacted by music like that at an early age.
Yeah, that was one of the things, and it was also a timing thing with me and Marshall. I seen him around, so I always looked up to him because I never seen anybody do to other rappers battle wise what he did to other rappers locally at the hip hop shop. I rapped one time at the hip hop shop, by the way. I got gonged.
For real.
Yeah, like if I hadn't have rapped at the Ebony Showcase after the hip hop shop, I never even would have rapped. I never would have been a professional rapper.
So what made the shop environment different, or was you not ready at the time? Like what was?
I wasn't ready, and also it was a different environment. Everybody was standing in a circle, and Proof was hosting, and he would just pass the mic around in a circle. The Ebony Showcase, the environment there was a stage with people standing and looking at the stage, and it was a little bit elevated, so you're a little bit higher than the people. Yeah. And I just caught a little bit of lightning there. But the hip hop shop,
yeah,
Elzai, Vaughn from D12, Conniva, Marshall, Proof, Fat Cat, and I may be forgetting somebody, but Elzai and M mostly. Yo, when I heard them rhyme, I was like, nah, I can't do this.
So was it like 8 Mile? Was it like the movie? Like what was special about it? Like what do you think?
It was just I came in there rhyming big words because I thought that they sounded dope, but they were using like punchlines, like battle. I never knew what a battle was. Like Smack wasn't out back then. Right. This was 95. And they were like talking about each other's clothes and shit, how you see people battling now. They were doing that back then. I don't know how they knew how to do that, but it was like using multi-syllable, like connecting multi-syllables and shit like that. Elzai and them doing that back then. Marshall, Infinite was what, 97?
Yeah.
My pen and paper cause a chain reaction to get your brain relaxing. The maniac is Aniac in action. All of that, like how AZ does. Yeah. Marshall was doing that shit in 97. Yeah. Wow. And it was amazing too.
So was your first record the Bad Meets Evil record?
The one we did together, yeah. The one from his album, that was the very first thing that we recorded together, yeah.
And then, so when you made the decision to go with Tommy Boy, did you feel right away that was, was that distancing yourself from Dre and M at the time? Like, what was going on when you made that decision?
It wasn't distancing me from M, but it distanced me from Dre. But at that time, I didn't know that. I didn't know that because all I heard was $1 million. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Dre at that time, he was offering me. See, what would happen was the environment with Dre was so cool because we were recording everything at his house when we were writing for the Chronic album. It was so cool. So really, I was showing up to work every day. So I never really felt like I was doing business with Dre. So when he offered me $250,000 budget and unlimited Dre beats. So I thought that was cool, but he just said it to me in a conversation. So when the Tommy Boy thing came, they wanted me to the office immediately. They wanted to give me $1 million. It just felt more tangible, first of all. And they kept saying $1 million, man. Like they kept saying that it was like, yeah, plus
you ain't getting $1 million here to rap on podcast.
It was just like, damn, man. Like, how the fuck can I turn down $1 million?
Right. Did you go to M for advice?
I can't remember if I did, but man, if I did, he told me to do it, because if he would have advised me not to, I wouldn't have did it. Like, I've never went against Marshall's advice, ever.
But it never came out on Tommy Boy, right? Like, what happened there?
Nah, yeah, because I went to turn in the album. I had 5 Pharrell beats. I had 5 Neptune beats, right? Wow. They wanted to know why was I working with them? Why are you doing so many songs with these guys? I was like, damn, man, because I just feel like the beats are incredible. You know what I'm saying?
This is before Super Thugs?
This is before everything.
So nobody
you know what I mean? So nobody even knew.
How did you connect with Pharrell? You said it was an interesting story.
Okay, yeah. So Eric Rhea, he was my partner back in the day. Still a good friend of mine, but he was my partner back in the day. He was from Detroit, so he was working at Quincy Jones' label at the time. I think it was Quest Records.
Quest, yep.
He was an A&R at Quest Records. So another A&R at Quest Records was Rob Walker, who managed Pharrell at the time.
Yep.
So also Derek Jackson worked up there. My man Derek Jackson from back in the day. So Derek Jackson had this group called The Clinic from Ohio. Dope ass spitters, right? Rick had me. They played Rob Walker, Marshall's Slim Shady EP, because I played it for Rick. Blew his mind. He plays it for Rob. Rob, last shit whack. Nobody want to hear
the Slim Shady EP?
Yeah, he was like, man, that white boy whack. So somehow, bro, this is when we were still using the handheld dial phones, the landlines. Right. So I'm at this crib we had on 96 on a landline. So it's me, Marshall, Pharrell, The Clinic, Rob, Rick, Derek Jackson, and Keno all on one call, on a conference call. And we all battled. Pharrell was rapping. Pharrell kept rapping about a Benz wagon. Because I was thinking to myself, like, what is this dude talking about, a Benz wagon? Like, I didn't even know what a Benz wagon is. And he reminded me of Nas a lot. But you could tell that he was kind of special on the phone. Just talking to him. He was real humble. Humble. And me and Marshall just, you know what happened. We shredded everybody. Yeah. But we shredded everybody. We shredded everybody. Yeah, we shredded everybody. But and then before Pharrell got off the phone, he said some shit that I'd never forget. He said, "Yo, Eric," he was like, "You got the Royce kid?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Make sure you get him a deal. Make sure you get him a deal." He was just like, "All right," and then he got off the phone. So when I got my deal, he was the first person I went to. Yeah. And when I met him in person, it was the first time I worked with a producer. Like, I worked with a lot of beat makers, but it was the first time I worked with somebody who gave me a hook and then told me the pattern I should use and gave me cadences and gave me melodies, and he taught me a different way of writing. And he was like, "Yo, why don't you take that line and make it the bridge? And why don't this repeat again in the song? Oh, is that your boy right there? Does he rap too? Well, why don't you let him have a small piece on the song so you can start branding him too?" Wow. Yo, this is a young dude thinking like this. Yeah. And I'm just like, all right. So by the time I was done, and by the way, I get in there and it's like Khalees, right? Khalees is one of the first people I see, and she got like an all silver outfit on, looked like an aluminum foil bodysuit and a big pink afro, bro, with like big green glasses. And it was the first time I ever seen a girl that looked like that. Right. Like, we don't have women that look like that in Detroit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy. So it was just like the whole New York experience was just crazy. So
what was Pharrell wearing?
Pharrell had on
probably like a smock or something.
He had on some real big glasses the first time I seen him. And then the next day he came with some Gucci pants. They were like they kind of were like khaki material, and they had the Gucci G's all over them. And it was like, if they reissued these pants, they would sell like fucking hotcakes, because they was fresh as hell. But I think I might have cracked a couple jokes on him behind his back for wearing those, because it was way before his time.
Yeah.
All of his fashion shit
That's
was
what I'm saying,
way before his time.
Were any of those beats ahead of their time? Like,
Hell yeah.
Which ones?
All of them fire. All of them.
Any of them ever come out?
Yeah. We had one called Feels Good. He ended up selling it with the same hook to I want to say one of the kids from Bone, one of the dudes from Bone.
Busy Bone?
I think so. Feels Good. We
We
had one called Make This Run. We had one called Mr. Baller with the Clips. I ended up doing something with the Clips. Chilling with them in Virginia.
Right.
That's why I've been knowing Push and Malice since way back then.
Wow.
Like one of the first people I met in the industry too.
But you seem like as if you had this eye for talent. You said I think you tweeted that six Black and Anderson .Paak are gifts to the culture. Why do you think that they're so special?
I'm just a fan of the way they do everything. It's like they push themselves to be different from what's going on in the landscape, but they do it in a way that feels like they're like throwbacks to like a time when artists took the artistic part of doing shit just way more serious. Especially Anderson .Paak. The reason why I like Black so much is because his patterns and shit is like a rapper.
Yeah.
Like he connects the syllable. He's very, very lyrical, but then he's super melodic, but then he doesn't over-sing anything. He stays within a range, and then he sounds like a fucking billy goat. So he might as well be the goat. Like if you listen to that nigga, it's like, man, like he already making the billy goat noise. He's the fucking truth, cuz.
But another guy you've been hooking up with, man, J.Cole, we saw this picture at a carnival, and you were in the studio last year together. What's going on with you and that guy?
Cole came to Detroit. He came to Detroit. He was coming out on Kendrick's set. Kendrick was performing at the stadium and shit. So he came to Detroit for that. So he actually got there a day earlier. And he just hit me up and he hit Sean up. He hit Big Sean up and asked him if he knew of a studio. So Sean hit me and was like, "Yo, Cole looking for a studio. Is it cool if he use yours?"
Go to have it.
Yeah, so shout out my man Sean, because Sean, when Cole came to the studio, we just kind of ended up working. But when he came, I was just ready to just give him the studio.
Yeah, give him his space.
I was gonna leave and just leave him be. But he was like, "Yo, let me hear something." And I was like, "What you mean?" And he was like, let me, we working on something? Let me hear something. I was like, all right, cool. So I started playing him shit. And then he started playing me beats. And then one thing led to another, and we ended up just cutting stuff. Oh, wow. You know what I'm saying?
So just natural.
And shout out my man Sean, too, because Sean called me back and was like, "Yo, did y'all do something?" I was like, "Yeah, we did something." He was like, hell yeah, that's what we need. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, shout out Sean for that.
So is that going to appear on any project?
Or? He got that Tuck beat out. He got
that
that stuff for that Royce out, baby.
Cole don't do videos.
It may live somewhere.
Well, let's go back to Time Boys. You come with 5 Pharrell beats, right?
5 Pharrell beats.
And what happens?
So
you don't see the vision?
I have 5 Pharrell beats. I also work with a young Just Blaze.
And a young Kanye West.
Yeah, I work with a young Kanye West, but I did that on Sony.
Right.
Yeah, so for Tommy Boy, it's still young Just Blaze.
What was it Just Blaze song?
We did too.
That didn't come out.
We did a concept record, and it was like I was something in the song.
Gun.
It was some shit like that, like biting Nas. You know what I'm saying? It was
Organized confusion.
Something like that. It was like I was embodying something.
Yeah.
And he was using noises and shit that
crazy.
So he constructed something right in front of me. He sounded a lot like Swiss Beats back then. And he had dreads. He had long dreads. And me and him, we connected real quick and easy too. Yeah. He came to my hotel room, and I had I'm not gonna say what because I had like this girl in there, and I'm not gonna say exactly because I don't know what his situation was back then. He wasn't really wild, but he was definitely looking at me like, this guy is wild. This is a wild boy. So shout out Just Blaze. So I had the 5 Pharrell beats. I had a few from Carlos Brody back then. He was also one of the guys that I wanted to work with because the
Hitman.
Yeah, him and Nasheem because
you got the best producers out here. Jesus,
bro, the Life After Death album. It's like all of my favorite songs from Life After Death they produced. So I went to them.
You didn't keep all this $1 million budget. You was like out here.
No, I spent it. I went heavily over budget, and then I trashed Tom Silverman's apartment.
You didn't bring rats to the office like Treach did. You didn't do that.
Nah, I very rarely went to the office. That was too professional for me back then.
What you blow $1 million on?
You mean like my money to spend or the budget? You talking about the budget?
Yeah.
Sitting in the studio, doing a lot of drinking, sitting around, inviting girls over. One time we had a studio session and somebody hired strippers to come.
Ambiance.
Yeah, that was one session I was doing with Marshall. It was like strippers in there. He was just looking mad uncomfortable. Like, is we working or what? I was just stupid, man. So it was like I spent it on shit like that.
Gotcha.
And then I also I was staying in Tom Silverman's apartment on 22nd and Broadway. It was like $1 million apartment.
Yeah.
And the cleaning lady came over and took my look at the apartment and called him and said that it looked like a crack house. So once that happened, because I invited the homies in from Detroit.
Right.
You know, Marshall won his first VMA. We was all turned up, happy. All the homies from Detroit came. They get to fighting with each other. One homie snatched the other homie in the bathroom and slammed the door. I hear a whole bunch of shit crashing in there. And I'm just like, yeah, this is bad.
It's starting that corner.
This is really problematic. This is I don't know what I'm going to do about this. So before I can clean anything up, the cleaning lady came and saw it.
Yeah.
And I guess she was under the impression that it was in that condition all the time. But I wasn't thinking, like, this is really his house. He just didn't stay there as much as he stayed in other places. So, yeah, as soon as they found that out, kicked me out of the apartment. And then we had a meeting to go play everything that we had so far. And they said, we like the songs. We really like the songs. First of all, we want to know why you have so many Pharrell songs. And we don't know who you are by listening to these songs. Who are you? And I could not understand what they were talking about. I really didn't. I didn't understand what they were talking about.
Right.
It's like, do you like you like the raps?
Yeah.
We love the raps.
Oh, these good songs, yeah.
We love the raps. You like the songs? Yeah. We like them. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't grasp the concept that you can make good songs.
Yeah.
But are you making music that's gonna make people want to listen to it again or make people want to buy it?
Yeah, I think you said one of the songs I think was off or something. Where you saying like people like, what, is he a Nas? Can we make him a Nas? Can we make him
Sony.
this?
That was Sony because they had Nas. They had Nas at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say they felt this way, but a lot of people felt like Nas was over. I don't know why they
before the Jay-Z beef. Yeah.
People
don't
always doubted Nas.
Yeah,
man.
they did.
I don't understand that shit for the life of me because that wasn't the first time I heard people talk about him like that.
Yeah.
It was all through his career. It was like they were waiting for him to fall off.
Because he was so heralded in the beginning, like he was a golden child with Illmatic.
They wanted him to do Illmatic over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's insane. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when I got over there, it was like the Nas comparisons really bothered me. You know, because number one, I didn't want those words to get back to him, and for him to think I came in the building with that energy. Exactly. Because I didn't, man. Right. I didn't. It was nothing but love, respect, and admiration, and I always tried to express that to him whenever I seen him. Yeah. Right. It was always cool.
But when Tom Boy didn't connect to us, and then you went, how did you get to Sony? Like, what was that transition like? And were you still determined to get those songs out and that vision out?
I don't remember if I was determined to get those particular songs out. I can move on. I can move away from songs pretty fast, pretty easy. Especially if I have bad experiences with them. Like if I play y'all some shit right now and I get like a crazy reaction, like I'll probably go back to my room and just listen to those same songs with a different energy.
Right.
That's why adding perspective to shit is always good. Content,
you
shit
draw
like
from
that.
the feedback. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So after I had that meeting, I started second guessing myself.
Yeah.
You know, so I went back to Marshall again, my ace. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, we just got to go somewhere else. So this time it was like, Paul was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take you somewhere else and we're going to have Marshall executive produce this one. And, you know, so I go to Sony. I don't know how I got out of the Tommy Boy deal. Theo Sedemeier is a beast. He's a beast. So I end up on Sony, another $1 million.
Nice deals.
Another $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So
$1 million man.
It was
$1 million Montgomery.
It was crazy. Like labels at that time, they were like determined to figure it out. Right. Figure this Royce the 5'9" puzzle out. We're gonna break this kid. Yeah. You know, so I walked into there with Boom already. Me and PRhyme had already did Boom. It was already out. So what they did was they added it to the Carmen Hip Hopera soundtrack. Y'all remember that movie? With Mekhi Phifer and Beyonce?
Yeah. TV.
Yeah, so they added it to that.
There was a heavy push behind that. I didn't realize that.
It was a heavy push behind the wrong version. Let me tell you why. made me add a hook to the song. Have you ever heard that version?
No.
Don't go listen to that version.
I don't.
Are you singing a boom? Like, what are you like? Kind of sort of
singing.
Wow.
But it was like before I even knew how to like get in the booth and like do any kind of melodies. It's the worst hook ever.
So they tried hard to make it fit the motif of the overall.
They don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Just like all the other labels, bro. It was like, my thing was this. I was thinking very logical. I was like, yo, like I know I was young and still learning, wet behind the ears, but I was like, can I ask a question? He was like, yeah. I'm like, is there something wrong with it the way it is now? I mean, it's already out. People already like it. You know what I mean? Flex is dropping bombs on it. That meant the world to me back then. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
it was an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment. I'm from Detroit, and Flex is dropping bombs on my shit. At that point in time, New York wasn't embracing shit like they do now.
Right. They have to now, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, that was great for me. I looked up to Flex, everybody. So I was like, why don't we just leave it like it is? Yo, because standard format for radio, you can't have a scratch hook. You got to have a real hook format. I hate that word. It's like, so it was like, okay, cool.
Where's the call out hook?
PRhyme was like, Royce, don't do it. Like he was like, no, like a fucking like a concerned uncle. You know what I'm saying? So, and Keno crazy ass, gotta do it. Gotta do it, man. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Go change it. Gotta do it. So I went in the studio in Detroit. And I added a hook. We had a version with the scratch hook out, and I added a hook. And the hook goes a little something like this. So it goes, boom. Wait, it goes, somebody better duck or run. Somebody better. And then you know how like the boom has the dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
So I had a girl chase that and go, watch out, because he's about to blow up.
You heard it? I remember that. Watch out, he's about to blow up. Yeah,
because that's the video version.
Right.
We shot the video for the. So they
a
actually
lot of
used
rhinestones.
a lot of rhinestones.
I remember.
A lot of rhinestones. Now, if you want to know about the rhinestones, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what that was about, bro. Like I got nothing.
I remember.
But that's when you knew things were gonna go right with Sony.
I thought it was. And things were going relatively well. They treated me well. So did Tommy Boy though. No bad blood. You know what I mean? They treated me well. Another corporate apartment, 51st and 7th. I just had parties every week. You know what I mean? And I recorded a full album, which was Rock City.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Kanye.
Gotcha.
I met Kanye in Miami. I was like hanging out a lot at that time. So I was really visible. People were used to seeing me. I had a song on the radio playing like 80 something times a week. It's called You Can't Touch Me, Trackmaster joint. So at this moment, I'm, for all intents and purposes, I'm a radio artist at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to all of these events and shit, and I'm in Miami, and we at this club. I think I met Fab that night too. This is when Fab had the Nate Dogg record, I think.
So this is like 2002.
Y'all can't deny it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of his. So when I met him, he was like, yo, you're a nice nigga, son. And I was like, all right, man, you too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, that was an honor.
Yeah.
So it's like when I'm walking in VIP and I see Kanye kind of like, not arguing, but just kind of like having words with the security about getting in the fucking VIP. So I look at the security guard, who was really cool to me. So I felt like I could say something to him because he was cool to me when I came in. So I was like, big homie, that's Kanye West. And he looked at me, and it was like, oh shit, what up, Royce? And he was saying something along the lines of he was used to people calling him Kane. Everybody was calling him Kane back then.
Yeah.
And I was calling him Kane too. Until I seen a Brat interview where she referred to him as Kanye. So I was like, oh, I'm going to remember that. And then it just so happened I see this nigga, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, this is Kanye West. So we got cool. Like, we was like hanging the whole time that I was down there. And that led to us doing a joint called Heartbeat. Yeah. So he sent me the beat. I recorded something to it. And right after I recorded that song is when my album got bootlegged. And back then, bootlegging was like, bootlegging was like some shit that can ruin your whole everything. You know what I mean? So my album got bootlegged, and that fucked with my release. Sony basically stopped. They put the halt on all funds, everything. So now I got this Kanye record. Huh?
Do you know how it leaked?
Nah, I don't know. I don't know how it leaked. Yeah. Somebody from the label, though. Somebody from inside the label. So now I got this Kanye West produced joint that I really liked, that I wanted to add to the album, and I have no way to pay for it. So I called him and was like, yo, man, I need you to help me with this. And he was like, man, give me 15 for it. And I was just like, all right, now I got to figure out how to get this money. So I had to figure out how to get this nigga $15,000 back then. And out of nowhere, the song leaks. Now, at this moment, I'm not internet savvy by any means. Like,
nobody is.
Bro, I didn't even know how to log on to the internet. Like, I didn't know how to use a computer. Like, I didn't know how. So it's like, I don't know how it leaked out, but he found out. Because he was about to try and sell the beat to Jen, the battle rapper.
Wow, Jen.
Jen had a budget at that time.
Yeah. Jen ended up doing a song. He did his lead single, I Got Love, or something like that.
Bro, Jen was going to give him more. Jen was going to give him more.
Mm-hmm.
So once Jen found out my version leaked, Jen didn't want to buy it. And Kanye got mad at me because he was like, you fucking my money up. So that's my Kanye story.
Have y'all talked ever since?
I bumped into him. We didn't talk about that at all. We didn't even talk about it back then. I didn't know he was mad at me until I seen the interview that he did. Or somebody told me they heard him talking. Something about, in the interview he said he'll never work with me again. So I'm like, okay, well, adds on to the people that don't like me. Get in line, buddy.
Speaking of people that don't like it, I want to get back to PRhyme 2. You know, I was listening to the record Everyday Struggle. I think that's one of my favorite records so far, stand out.
Thank you.
Why was that important to get that the messages out on that record?
Nightmares of Joe Budden and Yachty.
Yeah.
You know what, man? It's just that whole narrative bothers me. That whole, like, this era versus that era. It really bothers me, man, because we kind of went through that when I came into the game. Yeah. Like, I came into the game idolizing cannabis. Redman. Thank God Redman showed me love. Meth showed me love. Cannabis, man, he's just angry. I used to think to myself, like, what is this nigga angry at? He didn't like Marshall. He didn't like me. He didn't like nobody. It's like, it was just like, and it's like, like when we did the Slaughterhouse thing, like Buckshot Shorty had comments. It was just like, some of the guys that have been around for a minute, Lord Jamar, these are all OGs. I respect. Love them.
Too opinionated.
They're purists. I don't know if they're considered purists or they just feel like they own it. They own it and they can speak about anybody however they want to. What you're doing by doing that is you're ruining the youth. Yeah. Because you're making them not want to listen to none of us. So they're being competitive, and it's happening all through the culture, not just music, but basketball. Like, I heard a point guard, a famous point guard say he didn't grow up watching Allen Iverson. I didn't watch Allen Iverson. I didn't watch nobody. You watch somebody.
My crossover is my crossover.
Yeah, it's just like my generation, we were taught to respect the OGs and put the OGs on a pedestal. But that also, it doesn't mean we can't be men. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean I can't defend myself if I feel like you coming down on me. So I think it's way more coming down on the youth than it is giving them information.
But how does it feel to see, I mean, Joe's your friend. How do you see he became this media personality where that was part of his stance, right? That he's a guy who's from the culture, lived through it, that he's looking at it from like a Charles Barkley type of lens with it, but can be very critical of it. So what do you make of his growth in that way?
I didn't isolate that, you know? Like, I didn't look at that, you know, that didn't inspire anything, the song or anything. That's just Joe being Joe.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like we need that. We need the opinionated guy. We need the OG Jeezy jewel dropper. We need all we need all of that. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. I just feel like right now, in order to, the way that the youth is and how strong they are, we need a little bit more of the Jeezys than we do the Joes in terms of being able to get through to them. Because I don't think Joe's angle is to get through to them. I think his angle is just to be heard, period, and taken seriously, and to be looked at as somebody who's going to always be brutally honest.
Do you think he took his criticism of Eminem's music too far?
Absolutely. I think with that particular situation, I think he's entitled to his opinion, just like anybody else. But it goes back to the dignity thing that I spoke about, the dignity thing, the loyalty. I could say, yo, I don't like every single Eminem song that ever came out. Yeah. And I'm entitled to that opinion. I can even say that. But there's a such thing as going past the realm of what your opinion is and making it so that it sounds like you're trying to sway people's judgment. Like, I for a long time, I had problems with bloggers back in the day because I felt like when they rated my albums, they weren't fair. They rated them based off of what they interpreted my buzz to be, or they rated it based off of what they thought was some cool shit to say. And I always felt like it was at my expense. So I always took it personal. So Joe, somebody being an artist, I thought if anybody, he would understand how important it is that you walk eggshells around each other's art. That's just how we do. You know, so like if Marshall plays me something, or if I play him something, if he don't like it, there's been plenty of times he didn't like beats and shit like that. What he'll do is he'll tell me something good about it, and then he'll tell me what he doesn't like about it. But we do it so constructively that it helps us. We walk away from that shit feeling like, okay, now I know what to add to it, or I know what to factor into the next thing that I do. That's when you're working with other artists, and you, especially when you're working with family. Now, the thing that he said that I really didn't like was something along the lines of people them using the plight of black people to sell a record.
Yeah.
That was a little crazy to me because
that one song that came out before.
Yeah, that was a little crazy to me because he knows Marshall personally. Like, he's been to the studio. He knows that's not the kind of person that he is. And then, like, if you just look at it objectively, if you just look at the situation, the angle that he took is a much tougher road and path than he had to take.
Yeah.
He could have just made a bunch of pop records, safe pop records, and just took that route. Like, he didn't have to address the urban audience at all if he didn't want to.
Yeah. Right.
So he was taking more of a risk. You know what I mean? So it's like, Joe, you know, if you got that platform, it's like that's your opportunity to be politically correct, or just not say nothing at all. I mean, there's been people on the show where he didn't say much.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
And I told him this. So it's like, you know.
But how did it feel in general? It seemed like it became the cool thing to kind of bash Eminem around this project, you know. Being his friend, how was that for you? Because you're on the internet, you see what goes on. Do you feel like it just started to become this trend that kind of, you know, kick one of the greats?
Yeah, it's art, man. It's art. So, you know, some of it, you know, sometimes we hit our target, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we can hit our target at the wrong time. You know what I mean? Like, and it's there's always going to be people regurgitating what they see. Like, I feel like we in an era now where people go to the internet to find out what they should like. I don't think the average person know what they like. Or if they like something, they won't say it until they make sure that it's cool.
Validation of others. They want the validation of others.
It's like, and the biggest thing with kids these days, people always talk about your shit got to resonate with the kids. The biggest thing about the kids is they're more impressionable than they ever been, and fitting in is more important to them than anything. That's it. Yeah. My son came and asked me to buy him some fucking Skechers when he was real young. I said, absolutely not. I'm not buying you Skechers. Right. But I understand what you're going through. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, I always thought when I had a kid, he's going to want to dress exactly like me. He's going to want to only listen to my music. Not the case, bro. It's the environment. He wants to fit in. He doesn't want to stick out. He wants to be normal like everybody else. And that's happening online, and it's happening everywhere. You know what I mean?
It seems as if you also throw a couple shots at Vlad. I've noticed that you've done it on Everyday Struggle and a lot of different records throughout your career. Like, what's your relationship with him? Like,
Vlad is cool.
Okay.
I don't have a problem. With Vlad. I'll just point out the obvious. And this, when I talk about that, it's just adding to the narrative. No different from like if we're talking and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like if you do Vlad, the interview's gonna go this way. Yeah. You can kind of guess how the interview's gonna go. That's basically all I'm saying.
Okay.
But I mean, he's open with saying that's
what
his angle. That's what he does. Yeah. You know what I mean? So all I'm doing is just reiterating the fact that this is what exists in our climate. Like, if we're aware of these things, then we can navigate a little bit better. Yeah. You know, like if it's something going on, like if I'm Troy Ave right now, I'm not going to Vlad. I'll go to Vlad another time. I'm fighting the case. He's not who I want to talk to. Yeah. So it's like, if I would love for somebody to listen to the music and be able to pull that from it and say, yeah, he is right about the angle of Vlad. So let me make sure that I stay away from that. Like, if I'm looking for some gossip, I go there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm saying.
But back to you mentioning Joe, like the whole thing with Slaughterhouse, do you think there may be somewhat of a frustration? And what's your take on it? You probably must be a little disappointed it hasn't come to the full fruition, I guess, that you guys would want it to be at this point, right?
Well, we've accomplished a lot. Like, we took it way past the point of what people thought that we could do, that we could take it. I always say, man, we started out as solo artists, and that's what's in our heart. You know, so when we did the Slaughterhouse thing, we kind of did it because it felt right at the time. And I'm never one to force some shit if it's not feeling right or if it's not moving right. When you got 4 different guys with sometimes 4 different agendas, that happens. So when it's clicking automatically, it's fun. When it's not clicking and we feel like we just kind of doing it because the fans want it, and you know this person don't like how this person is doing stuff, and this person, and the beauty of it is we never fell out or like got in fights or like had big arguments.
Leaders of the new school
moment. You know what I mean? Like,
moment.
we never had those kinds of moments, but we also didn't grow up together. We're not from the same hood. We were formed based off of the fans saying, yo, y'all need to do more music together after we did that first song. So, I mean, I feel good about what we accomplished in Slaughterhouse thus far. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not much more that's attainable unless it's done the right way. And the only way that can happen is if everybody has if we're like-minded with the goal of it. If one person is using it as a platform to do other things, and then you got another person that's looking at doing 5 albums, that's a problematic situation.
Yeah. But Heaven Studios is always open.
It's always open, especially for them. You know what I mean? So it's cool.
Right.
It's crazy.
I saw last year. You had a beef with Detroit for giving Cardi B an award. Was that ever resolved? Like, did anyone ever explain to you why she got the Spirit of Detroit award?
Nah, I wasn't really looking for an explanation. Oh. It was more just me expressing how I feel about the mind frame of everybody in Detroit, and the reason why it's important for all of us to think a certain way in order to be able to get ourselves out of this rut that we're in. And it's just due largely to the fact that we were Motown. We were Motown. We had all the greatest artists in the world. Now, fast forward all these years later, we still have it, but we fell off since then. When I got my deal, getting a record deal in Detroit was unheard of. Like, a lot of people didn't know who Eminem was, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Except in the hip-hop scene. So it was like, who is this other kid? Who is this black kid? He got a record deal? And then Obi Trice, who is he? He got a record deal? And then D12, who are they? They got a record deal. And then Slum Village. So it was like my generation, it spawned all of these new record deals and shit like that. But the only problem was we didn't have the unity. We didn't have the unity. So now, fast forward even more years later, you got Detroit versus everybody, which is like a phenomenon. You know, we made the song, and you got like these people running for office, people that work in the mayor's office, they're wearing the Detroit versus everybody sweatshirt or hoodie. So my thing is, it's only words on a shirt if we're not putting action with those words. We all know none of these awards mean anything. None of them. Right. So you say Spirit of Detroit Award, you're going to create this statue, and you're going to give it, you might as well give it to all of our artists. You might as well raise the confidence level, the morale of our own community, because all we have is us. Right. There is no Detroit artist going nowhere getting no fucking Spirit of Anywhere award in any place.
Yeah, any other city.
Yeah, so it wasn't no disrespect to Cardi B. I love Cardi B. Right. You know what I mean? It was no disrespect to her. It was just me stating how I felt about the mind frame of the people in Detroit. And I feel like that's one of the problems. That's one of the reasons why we can't really break out as a city like we should. Like
where does your love stem that you're so dedicated from it? Like, you've never left. You still are a byproduct. You said one of the songs you wanted the most famous one they could see out in these streets.
Yeah, it's I think it's because I've lived in New York. I've lived in LA. You know what I mean? Like I love those places. I love this place, but not like Detroit. Not like Detroit. It's a certain feeling I have when I'm bending corners. I just feel safe, man. I feel safe, and I'm very family oriented. That's where my parents are. I can't go long periods of time without checking on my family. Right. My wife, I've been with my wife since high school. You know, like her mother is in Detroit. She's real tight with her siblings. I got 5,000 kids.
So ranging in age.
Yeah, right. So
I saw a little baby. I saw a giant young man.
Bro, I could look at that wall and make a baby. I could get that wall pregnant right
there. Being that you said that your family is there, how's your father? Because I know you've been saying you're trying to get him out the post office for the longest, man.
He good, but it'd be better if he was retired. You know, and that's one of the things that really it hangs over my head, man. Because when I got like to the height of my drinking, when I was like considered myself a really, really bad drunk, I was making a lot of money, man. I was making a lot of money, and I could have easily got him out of that place. Yeah. But I wasn't thinking straight. So now I just look at it in retrospect, and it's not really a regret. I don't do well holding on to regrets. But it's something that crosses my mind, and I say, I got to correct this. And I believe in myself. I believe I can correct it. Yeah. It's going to take me a little bit of time. You know, like this year, I want to do some shit that I'm not supposed to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I want to achieve something that statistically says I'm not supposed to be able to. Yeah. Like, I get off on being able to do shit like that.
Can you talk about your battle with alcoholism a lot, and I guess to a certain level, it's a turning point of your life, where it defines a lot of you. Like, you know, you talk about Patron was really probably the thing that really set it off for you the most.
It's pretty delicious, man.
Well, I was gonna say, how does one really overcome that? Like, you said also, you're not the type that you're not even uncomfortable with people drinking around you. You've learned to accept it. Like, it isn't like you have to be, you know, it's isolated.
When you get sober, you become the police, bro. It's like if you come in here, if I came in here and y'all drinking and y'all trying to hide it, I'm gonna notice it immediately, my nigga. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel a little more weird with people doing that. I don't like being handled. Yo, don't handle me, man. Like, don't treat me a certain way.
No, it's like I'm some special drink champs.
Yeah. When I do drink champs, I'm going with a Monster Energy drink, and we gonna get it in, you know. Right. But I think it was. What was your question again?
Just the whole battle with it. I know you Marshall's the one you reached out to.
How do you
stick with it? Like, you went through a hospital, you went through those type of things, but like, how do you not go back to feeling like, well, I could just have this one glass of wine, or I could do X, Y, Z. Like, how do you manage it and it not become a factor anymore in your life?
I've learned in my experiences that you have to kind of like do what works for you. Me personally, I tried everything. I didn't just wake up one day and say I'm stopping and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, I tried drinking only on the weekends. I tried drinking only wine. I tried going to my doctor and telling him I want to stop drinking. And he said, how much liquor do you drink a day? I said, probably about a liter of tequila per day. And if I drink a liter in a day, I'll go to sleep feeling how I want to feel. And when I go to sleep, I want to pass out. If I wake up and I remember too many parts of yesterday, I feel like that wasn't right. Wow. That's how bad I got. So if I tried to go to sleep without drinking, I'm a shaky mess. I can't sleep. I'm shaking. You know what I mean? So I told my doctor that, and he basically prescribed me alcohol. He wrote me out a prescription, and he said, drink this much this day, this much this day.
Like a schedule. Wow.
He just put me on a drinking schedule. Wow. And I was like, this is crazy.
But did the drinking affect your performance as a rapper?
Absolutely.
On stage?
Absolutely. I had a lot of bad shows, a lot of bad moments, forgetting lyrics, slurring words in the booth. And it was cool, man. Like, slurring words in the booth and shit like that. The people who follow me, that's one thing though. Like, when I used to drink, I used to try shit. Yeah, that's always good to do as an artist. But you don't need liquor to do that. But what would happen was I just let my inhibitions go. You know what I mean? And I just be in there, and I wouldn't be worried about people's opinions and shit like that. So I trained myself to only be in that spirit and in that form while I'm under the influence. Like, I taught myself to be dependent on the substance. So I developed all kind of triggers, man. Like, my regular routine to the studio, I have my assistant come get me, and then we make a right. And then as soon as we get to the light, I'm already thinking about the liquor store. It's a trigger. I'm already thinking about it. Like, okay, we got to stop there. Got to get a bottle. So I buy a liter. We get to the studio. The smell of the studio makes me want to drink because I'm so used to coming in there and doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when you take that out of the routine, it's tough, man. Mm-hmm. So, like...
So now is there a schedule of discipline in terms of how you move now? Like,
I don't really think about it no more, but it took a real long time. Mm-hmm. It took a real long time. I used to just go to the studio. This is before I even had my studio. I only had my studio for a year. I used to just go to the studio and just sit in there, just depressed. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I couldn't think of no raps. It was boring. I didn't like nobody that was in my phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody that called me was a fucking drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had people suing me. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like I had all kind of girls I didn't like no more. It was a bad time, bro. Wow. You know what I mean? So it just took me a long time to just kind of get over it. My mind used to get the best of me. I'd be talking to somebody, I would think they mean something else. Like, I just used to think ahead of people. Mm-hmm. My brain just started working, and then I couldn't write. When I started rapping again, I couldn't write my raps down. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking too fast. I had to just go in the booth and just say them. You know what I mean? Like, I was almost like I was so sharp, I wasn't used to it.
Yeah. Well, when did you start to feel that strength? Like, what was the turning point where you started to feel like...
It took me about a year. Yeah. It took me about a year. I was going to the studio all the time, and I was leaving early mad. Mad. I couldn't think of shit. And whenever I forced something down, it never came out good. Never came out good. I remember sending Joe and them ideas, and they just didn't even hit me back. Usually I get like all kind of fire emojis in my email, or they'll hit me back and be like, "Man, you the best." You know what I'm saying? Like, I was sending them ideas, and they wasn't even responding, bro.
Do you remember like early songs or verses that you did that you felt like
it was
I could still be me?
We had this thing where my man Officially Ice, he was like, "Yo, y'all should start doing freestyles." And I think he started picking a whole bunch of beats he wanted us to body, and I rapped over. I can't remember what beat it was. I rapped over it. It was just too regular. Yeah. It wasn't whack.
So was the bar exam series kind of therapeutic for you? Post sobriety?
I didn't think I was gonna ever be able to do another bar exam. Cause bar exam 2 was considered classic, and it was like a lyrical it was like a pinnacle for me at that time, because it was the first time I started using punchlines and started getting good at it. I fell into a zone. So when I got sober, I didn't feel like I could write punchlines no more. So I always kept saying, I'm not doing another bar exam. I'm going to do an album. It's going to be so personal. I'm just going to talk about shit that's safe, that I know I can openly discuss on a record, where I don't have to use the same techniques that I used to use. I was chalking up everything. All of the special things that I did, all the little nuances of my style, I chalked it up. I was like, I lost it. I can't do that shit no more. It's cool though, because I'm gonna be Floyd Mayweather now. I'm gonna stand in the pocket. Yeah. I'm not gonna move my legs and shit the same, but I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah. When Jordan starts shooting the fadeaway, that's what I felt. That's what I felt I was at that time.
Wow. Because the bar is in 4, I listened to it. It seems like as if you never lost the beat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, the mind frame that I was in, I never thought that I would get to this space. Right. Now I feel like I'm better than I've ever been. Right. Yeah. You know, because it's like when I used to get drunk, my brain would be operating, at least I thought this, my brain would be operating, clicking on all cylinders for about 1 or 2 hours per night. If I'm in the studio for these 1 or 2 hours, I can move a fucking mountain. But I'm drinking while this is happening. So once I hit that point where I'm a little bit too drunk, I start slipping. Bullshit lines start coming into play. Yeah.
So was retiring really on your mind? You talk about that on Bar Exam 4, like on the Still Waiting record, like you thought about.
Nah, okay. Retiring is more like that was more like when I was talking about that, it was just like, okay, man, listen. When I finally do stop rapping, I'm one of those people who I pray that it's just in a few good people's hands. Like guys like Kendrick, Cole, Sean, Drake, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, damn, shit might be all right with these guys. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, it was more of a message to the people who don't push themselves creatively. And it's not just lyrically, man. It's like, you can listen to somebody that's not a lyricist, but you can tell that they're still really good at what they do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, everybody not listening to lyrics all the time.
Yeah. You could be a complete artist, but not necessarily.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of artists I like who I'm not in a cipher with, but I love what they do. And you know, like the people who aren't pushing themselves, who come into this shit like just for a money grab, right? Who aren't even looking for longevity, they just living in the now. That was more like a message to them.
Gotcha. You said with the first PRhyme album, you sort of use these guests to get Primo continually motivated to finish the project. What was the mind state with the guests on the second one? I think I was kind of taking it back at first to like the first song. Dave East comes out of nowhere and he's rapping first. Like, why was that the right move to put Era out as the first song? Have Dave East's first verse and the song.
The East thing, I didn't even think about like, damn, Dave East verses first. We really did this album without as much thought, because now we already into the vibe. The brand is already here. It doesn't have to be introduced as a new brand anymore. Right. We can do what we want to do. If DJ Khaled come out with a record and somebody else is rapping on it, we don't care. Is it a good record? You know what I mean? So we wanted to pick something sonically that would throw people off. It would throw people for a loop. that wouldn't really give away too much of what the album would be. And I really love that song.
Yeah.
Because the song is a mixture of eras. You know, it's like it has like the from like a Bees in the Trap, but it also has scratches, it has the cuts, it has everything and it's blended together. So it's like a mixture of, it has a vintage feel, but it also has futuristic elements as well, and really good raps.
It's interesting that the whole refrain is that you feel like you was born in the wrong era, but at the same time, you don't want to be that older MC that's looking down on the younger cats in this generation, this era.
Yeah, well, I was more so speaking on just the era of everything that's going on, not even just in music, but just period.
Yeah,
I feel like
USA got a race obsession.
The mind frame of people today, period. I just feel like, damn, man. And then there's been times I've had conversations with PRhyme, and he just talked about the drugs, how the drugs were back then. Like if you read the Quincy Jones interview, and he talk about the way the drugs were, and you be like, damn, man, I'm in the wrong motherfucking era. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like they wasn't using condoms. Like the meat industry was better. You could eat meat. Now everybody got to be vegans and shit. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like big business has totally consumed us as people. They don't care about our lives no more. So it's just like there's a lot of like things going on that makes me feel like. Yeah, funny quote about
that. They had the Quincy Jones says 22 girlfriends who know each other. You wrote sounds tangible.
Sounds tangible to me.
22 girlfriends. Sounds like
I ain't mad.
Sounds expensive too.
But to say the USA got a race obsession. Yeah. Was that the thing of, you know, obviously we're all being impacted by what Trump's doing and stuff. Like, why did you feel like it was important to make a statement in that sense?
You know what, man? Like I was trying to do it in a way where I'm just kind of touching on how I kind of feel about it without coming off as this guy who's like this politically inclined. I'm not Killer Mike.
Right.
The reason why I'm not Killer Mike is because Killer Mike is Killer Mike.
Exactly.
That's what he does. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can tell, like, if you want to talk to me about the mechanics of rapping, I'm gonna sound like Killer Mike. Right. But I also have a platform, and I also have to be responsible for everything that comes out of my mouth. And I also understand that I can't just MC all the time without something that you can grab a hold to and pull something from. Right. And that's basically all I wanted to do without trying to overdo it. Right. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, the USA, we have a race obsession. You know what I'm saying? Everything is black people, white people, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's only when you get into the culture of hip hop that everybody seems like one. But then, we fucking divide that with all of these subgenres. And I'm a lyrical rapper now. I never got called lyrical rap before. They called me lyrical rap, bro. Right. You know what I mean? Like back in my day.
You were supposed to be lyrical.
Back in my day, like the artists, Redman, all of those guys, like everybody wanted to be good at rapping. Right. It's just changed.
Right. I guess that's the reason why Dr. Dre had you writing like the message on the Chronic. Did you know that you were gonna go that route in that direction? 2000.
What happened with that record was
produced by Lord Finesse.
Yes. Lord Finesse brought that record in, and he played it, and everybody in the room just went crazy. And at that time, I had just lost a really close friend, my man Reggie Anderson. So I lost him. He was standing on the corner, and somebody just rolled up and sprayed the corner, and he got hit in the neck. And we didn't have no beef at that time. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. I don't understand it. He was in the city, and he died, and that was like a big deal for me. So I basically just wrote about my experiences without even talking to Dre. I never knew Dre had a brother, and I never knew he lost a brother. So I just figured I'd just, because the environment creatively was so open. Everybody was just kind of doing it. Well, it wasn't really a lot of people writing. It was just me and Marshall, but we were just kind of doing us. So I just figured this is what this beat is telling me to do. If it was my record, this is what I would write about. So let me do it. Because every time I would go to Dre and be like, yo, what do you think I should write about? I don't want to limit you. Just do you. That's what he just made me feel so comfortable. It was just like, all right.
So you speaking on your loss connected to
speaking on my loss. I'm speaking on my loss, and then I go into the booth and I'm spitting the verse because I'm laying a reference for him to say. And he's just looking at me like with this blank stare. And I see Marshall looking at him like, is he all right? You know what I mean? Like, and then that's when he told us, I lost my brother, and he told us the whole story. And he was just like, we didn't change one word, bro. Not one word. Crazy. We didn't change one word.
Wow. I know you also been impacted by death on a personal level. You said that you miss your family's funerals because you were at South by?
Your uncle, right?
Your uncle?
Yeah, my Uncle Joe. My Uncle Joe died of cancer. Cancer is pretty much ravaging through my family like crazy. My Uncle Joe and then my Aunt Sherry died of cancer. My Uncle Johnny collapsed on a treadmill.
Wow.
So these are 3 funerals I missed just being a rapper. You know?
Yeah.
Like, part of the thing that's important, I feel like, in this game, when you get into it, is to find a balance. Like, you have to make time for family. And I didn't realize that. And I never thought, like, at the pace that I was going, that these things would come back and haunt me and I would feel it. You know what I mean? But I think about it. I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like, I never really got a chance to say bye. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like, we're talking about people with children who are my cousins, who I also have a relationship with, where the relationship is not even really the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like this music shit creates division between you and everything that loves you.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
And it's also like you speak even more about family down songs. Like when you rolled out Layers, that Tabernacle was your first single. You know, revealing that story. Like, it was surprising to me, like that story would never have come out before. Like, why do you feel like your writing is sort of skewed more now towards sharing more stuff personally and feeling comfortable with that?
The only thing I can say about that is when I first came into the game, like I told you, I was fresh out the Ebony Showcase, and I just kind of wanted to chop up MCs lyrically. And I had to grow into the artist who would get introspective. Joe helped me out a lot with that. Like, when I got into Slaughterhouse and I heard how much of his soul he would dump into the music, it was fascinating to me, because I never listened to Joe before that. You know, and I was like, yo, I didn't know this nigga was this good. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, then I heard Joel doing it, and Joe used to tell me, like, yo, you have to have content. Like, you one of the best rappers, but you lack substance. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be like, damn, this is what must be what Tommy Boy meant. When I was trying to hand in the album. You know what I mean? So it was like, at that point, I was still drinking and shit. But once I got sober, all kind of memories just start popping up into my head. And then that's when I was able to piece all of those pieces together. All of the shit that I talked about in that song, I was able to piece that together.
Yeah, because now people think it's a puzzle. Like the 5th floor, the 9th floor.
Yeah,
that's how you got 5'9".
Bro, I'm telling you, hand to the man, bro. When I put that song out, my A&R from Sony, when I was signed to Sony, Lenny Nicholson, he was also Nas's A&R. He called me. I ain't heard from this nigga in years. He called me and was like, dog, I had a song called Life with A. Marie on the Rock City album, where I'm speaking about my son. I'm speaking to him. It's like a song dedicated to him. He was like, this is life. This is what life should have been. I was just like, I wasn't ready, bro. Wasn't ready. Sorry. You probably would still be ticking right now.
Speaking of the album, though, the world wasn't ready for a Royce M song called Renegade, man. What happened with that? And then
Renegade.
Jay-Z takes this record.
Renegade.
You know, some people, I was getting into the internet, there's people that didn't know that originally it was cut, and the whole idea that, you know, Eminem murdered you on your own shit. Those verses were already there for Jay-Z when he got the record, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, he I went out to Marshall's house because, like I told you, he was executive producing the album. And Interscope at that time, well, they probably still are like this, but at that time they were telling us, we're going to only clear Marshall for one song, because they were giving us single rights and they weren't giving that to anybody else.
Yeah.
So you picked a song. So I had one song called Rock City, where he's only doing the hook. We felt like that could be a single. Marshall felt like it could be a single.
Yeah.
The Renegade song was a song that we went in where we like, yo, let's just go in.
Yeah, lyrical.
So he made the beat right in
More
front
like
of me.
a B-side.
He made the beat right in front of me, and we did it. We approached it like, well, I'm not going to say he approached it like this. I approached it like it was just some B-side shit. I just approached it like that. I felt like we could do better. I don't know how Marshall felt about the song. So when he called me and said, yo, Jay-Z has been hitting me like for the last few projects, and I've been missing all of them. Like, we not doing nothing with this Renegade song. I'm gonna just go ahead and give him that if you cool with it. And I was like, hell yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
being a Jay
you
fan
working
yourself.
with Jay-Z?
Yeah,
man. It was like, yo, hell yeah. I didn't, it was nothing I could do with it. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't even my record. It was like, we did it, and they told me I couldn't have it. So that's how Jay-Z ended up with the song. Marshall sent him everything. All he did was take my verses out and send it to him with two holes in it. Well, 2 holes in it, and then the holes in the hook. So he would hear Marshall's piece of the hook, and you just fill in the other piece. Right. I don't think he heard my verses at all.
How did you feel when the record became the record and it got big? And
it was way better. Way better to me.
Yeah.
To me, it was way better. Because me and Marshall, we're a lot alike when it comes to how we attack the beat. So, you know, we get on the track and we sound like brothers. But it's something to be said about songs where you got two different guys from two different walks of life who view the world differently and they approach the music differently, but they make it mesh.
Right.
And that's exactly what I felt like they did on that song. So the song had way more layers than our version.
From your perspective, how exactly did you and Marshall fall out, and how did you reconcile?
I don't remember the point where we fell out. I remember the point where the D12, the problem between myself and D12 started out as just an elephant standing in the room. You know what I mean? Like, I would go around those guys and it would just like, I could feel it. I could feel it was an issue.
Yeah.
Marshall's a horrible mediator. So, like, I would hear things that they said and they would hear things that I said. You know what I mean? And I was like, not really good at diffusing things at all. A lot of money started getting made, started causing a lot of division. We never were friends anyway, but it originally was a problem between me and Bizarre. Bizarre and my brother, with me, Bizarre, we went to the same high school, and he was my brother's age, and him and my brother were cool, and then they stopped liking each other. So by the time I started rapping, actually, he heard I was rapping, and he came to the park to battle me because he heard I was nice. So I beat him in the battle. Shout out to Bizarre, I beat you. So I beat him in the battle, and then once he started seeing me around the Ebony Showcase and shit like that, we would see each other, we would say what up. We was always kind of like cool after that. And then once I started hanging with Marshall, it was like that changed. And I don't know if there were people around kind of like instigating, but in Detroit, I don't know if it's something in the water or what, but our instinct is always to compete first, to be competitive first before unity. That's why unity, I feel, is so important in Detroit now. Yeah. So, you know, once you take that approach, it only gonna escalate. So that's basically what it did. It escalated. Once I stopped doing the hype man thing for Marshall, because I went to do the album, Proof was back out there with him. He was doing a hype man thing with him, and then they started working on the D12 album. They started bonding in a different type of way. Yeah. So now you're bonding with these guys, but then you're hearing this guy said this over here, who's you also cool with. And then once records started getting made, that was it. You know, it just went out of control. So once it went out of control, my relationship with them, I think Marshall's stance was, well, this is my crew. So whatever. Yeah. We didn't have an official conversation. You know, like I heard through the grapevine that he said, like, yo, I ain't talking to Royce no more. You know what I mean? Like, maybe his feelings was hurt. Yeah. Looking at it in retrospect, could I have handled it differently? Absolutely. Yeah. You know, like, the least that I owed that man was respect enough to be able to diffuse it with his crew, or just show them the respect of not responding to the negativity based off everything that he did for me. Yeah. And I think I was just too young to see it that way, you know?
And then at least the How Come record and...
I still don't know to this day if that shit is about me.
Okay.
Did y'all think that was about me?
It could be.
It could be taken like that. But I was just so like, I didn't know.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't know, and it was just like, yo, that record is about you. I'm like, well, what the fuck did he say about me?
But did you feel like, you talk about being blackballed, what led to being blackballed? Did you feel like because you and them weren't on the same page, you felt blackballed by the industry? Like,
I felt blackballed by the industry. And that's basically, it was like this. It was like Marshall had a stranglehold over the industry. It was like he was the hottest thing moving at the time. What happens in this business when you're the hottest thing moving at the time is people volley for your attention. Yeah. They do things for you. They're willing to show you that they'll do things for you. Ignoring me was one of those things. You know what I mean? Right. I tried to go up to K Slade. It was like, no, you can't come up here. Because if you come up here, I might not be able to get Marshall up here. Yeah. That's what blackballing is. Okay. It's not necessarily always some big executive sitting somewhere going, shut that down, shut that down, shut that down, shut that down. Yeah. Sometimes it's just people who want his attention who won't talk to me or do business with me. You know, I'm going all over. I'm feeling all these different vibes. People, it's almost like people were waiting. I had people I've seen that I'm even cool with today. I see them, they wouldn't talk to me. After we make up, now they talk to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
happy to talk to you.
Happy to talk to me, but you could tell they didn't want to talk to me at that time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, that's what blackballing is. Yeah. So it's like I went through years of that, and it got to a point where I stopped even going to New York because it was just like, what am I gonna do? I don't know if I'm gonna pull up to the door and try to go to a club, and the bouncer is gonna be like, nope. Might have Eminem in here tomorrow. I don't want to ruin that. this guy out of here.
Right.
But you started to overcome it even before the reconciliation, though, right? Like how did you begin to overcome it in your mind? Like that was getting past it.
Consistency, and I think we went a long time without even discussing it anymore. I don't think by that time people even looked at it as an issue anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? But while it was an issue, I was out of the business. I was out of the business.
Right.
So what's it like? You've resolved some conflict. Like, what's it like to resolve like these differences? Like, how did they? Did you have to have that big sit down conversation with
Marshall?
To really get things right?
What happened with that, man? This shit is like a blur. Marshall, y'all remember Cassius?
Yeah.
Cassius that was signed to Marshall?
Shady.
Yes.
Yeah. I said something on the record that he didn't like, and he went and did something. He went and said something publicly. He talked about doing something to me, like he was gonna like fuck me up when he seen me. And I remember I seen it online. Somebody showed it to me. I seen it online, and he was like, "Yeah, you talked about my boss. Like he saved my life. I'm gonna fuck you up when I see you." So it was just like, okay, well, I had to hurt you. All right. Well, I put him on the list quick. I called Trick and I said, "Yo, bro, you know this guy? You cool with this guy?" And he was like, "No, that's Marshall's man." You know what I'm saying? And somehow, I don't know, like and I'm cool with Cassius now. So I mean, no disrespect. I promise you that. Yeah. But at that moment, it was like I had the worst intentions. You know what I mean? Like I was gonna do everything now. You know what I'm saying? Pause. If that's applicable. So Trick somehow got a hold of Marshall. I don't know if they were hanging out at that time. And told him what was going on. And somehow me and him ended up on the phone. Now, this was my second time talking to Marshall since we stopped talking. The first time I talked to Marshall, I'll tell you about after this. But so he called me and we just kind of started talking. And he was just like, the first thing he did was just start laughing. He was like, "Yo." I said, "Yo." And he just started laughing. And I just started laughing like, man, what the fuck? What are we doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? So we had a great conversation. He shared some insight on the whole Cassius thing. I said, I kind of understand where he's coming from. And me and Cassius ended up getting cool. We did a record together. Yeah. So that never became anything. So the first time I talked to Marshall, I said a line about Obi Trice in the freestyle. And I thought I bleeped out the line. And I thought I bleeped out enough of it so people wouldn't understand what I was saying.
But there was this thing called the internet, Royce.
Yeah. So people got it automatically. So I was just like, oh, shit. So I started getting all these calls. Obi's taking this as a diss. He taking this as a diss. Bro, my phone rings. I don't recognize the number. I answer. I'm like, hello? Yo. Like, who is this? He like, M. I'm like, yo, he literally talking about M. I'm like, ooh, M? I'm like, what's up? Now, mind you, I haven't talked to this man in almost 10 years.
Wow.
Man, he cussed me the fuck out.
You knew it was really him? You knew it was him?
Yeah, it was him. Yeah, it was him, man. He cussed me out. He cussed me out and hung up on me. He cussed, "Don't keep my fucking family's name out your mouth, motherfucker." Blah, 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 blah. He said he made a rhinestone joke. He said something else too. And it was just like, I couldn't get a fucking word in, bro. I don't know if he was high or what. I don't know what was going on. Well, I knew what was going on, but I don't know on his end. I've never heard him sound this mad before. Yeah. He cursed me out. He cursed me out and hung up on me. So by the time I talked to him about the Cassius thing, I think that's where the laughing came in. It was like a much calmer. Yeah. Sounded like he was at the house chilling. Yeah. You know what I mean? He sound at peace. You know what I mean? So we had a great conversation. But that Obi thing, it was like I had butterflies, and I'm not like afraid of him or nothing. But he's like my big brother. It's like my real big brother. Yeah. Like my real big brother is even like my dad. Like my dad is in his 60s. But I don't know if I could take him.
There's that respect.
Because he's my dad.
Respect,
you know what I mean?
That respect.
I just don't know. It's always that little bit of doubt in your head. It's like, what if he still got it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and it was like, that's kind of how it is.
Respect.
Yeah, that's.
And I guess that's what respect is. When you guys met up, they immediately went towards making music again together. Like, how did that develop when you guys finally got face to face?
So after we spoke that time when he cursed me out, then we spoke with the Cassius shit. We went years again without speaking. He just went dark on me. So after we formed Slaughterhouse, and we put the first album out, it was like the number one independent album in the country. And we did that relatively easy. Like we were doing like Rock the Bells and all of that shit before we even had an album.
You did that like in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah,
the whole album,
yeah.
right? 2
It
weeks
grew,
or so.
It grew super fast, and it was just like the talk of the town at that time. So when we start talking about doing the deal with Shady, Theo Settlemeyer again, genius. You know what I'm saying? Like we start talking about doing the deal, and I went and met with Paul. And we talked about everything, and I was able to talk to him finally, you know what I'm saying? Because he's also a friend.
Yeah.
He was a friend, like not just some associate in the business.
Absolutely.
He's a friend, you know what I'm saying? So I got a chance to talk to him. And it was just set up real smooth. Like we talked, we set everything up. Everybody flew to Detroit, and I got to see him finally in person again after all those years. So, you know, like the relationship just kind of built from there. I started coming up to the studio a little bit. And that's when I did Bar Exam 3. I played Bar Exam 3 for him, and I think it motivated him. Yeah. And I don't think he was hanging around a lot of rappers at that time. Well, he still don't. Right. But at that time, I don't know what he had to pull from motivation wise, but he loved it. He loved it, and then that's when he invited me to start coming and traveling with him when he goes and do his shows. So I became a part of the traveling party, and once I started going out there with them. Like, I wasn't, like, on the show or anything like that. He just wanted me there with him. That's when we started bonding again. And then quickly everything went back to how it used to be. Yeah. Like, super quick.
Because you guys always had that chemistry as MCs, right?
Yeah, man, we always had chemistry as MCs. But when I first got back around him, I was a little thrown off because I thought he was different. Like, I was just like, yo, this dude, he not the same. He's a grown-ass man. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just weird seeing him like that. Like, even his facial expressions and shit, because I'm just so used to seeing him high with his eyes real big and cracking a bunch of jokes. He was just mad serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, real serious. And I think it was because Slaughterhouse was around and he didn't really know them. He introduced, yeah, what's up, dog? What's up, dog? What's up, dog? And it was just like,
So it had to be a great full circle moment when you did Bad Meets Evil, it goes #1, and it's gold. Yeah. That had to feel really good then, right?
Yeah, it felt really good, man. Right. It felt really good. I mean, it was just... the thing that best about that project was just us being able to everybody allowing us to be creative again. Because it was Paul's idea. Yeah. We were sitting on the jet one time, like just after we was traveling and shit. And he just turned around and came back to the back with me, Marshall, and Porter. And he was just like, why don't y'all just do all of the things that y'all wanted to do with Bad Meets Evil? Why don't y'all get together and do like an EP or album? And this is when we were still waiting on the Slaughterhouse deal to close. It took a year to close that deal. So, I mean, I was like, shit, I'm obviously with it. I was looking at Marshall. And Marshall, man, I'm telling you, bro, it's this integrity thing I'm telling you about. He just kept saying, yo, I don't want it to interfere with Slaughterhouse. He was like, I don't know. I got to think about it. He was like, won't that interfere with Slaughterhouse? And Paul was just saying, I don't think so. I don't think it would interfere. If anything, it would probably help Slaughterhouse. Yeah. And Marshall was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It was just like his thing was Slaughterhouse. So it was never like a situation where he was more focused on me than the guys. Yeah. He was really into Slaughterhouse, like really into just the brand and everything. And then he went and did his homework, got everybody's shit individually. And by the time we all got real cool, he was able to tell them lines that they said and shit like that. And just function as MCs, which he probably hadn't had a lot of experience recently with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just not really being around rappers and shit. Right. So it was cool.
That's dope. Always wanted to know why T-Pain didn't want to work with you.
I think it was a misunderstanding, man.
Wait, what happened?
On Lighters, remember on the Bad Meets Evil record?
You know what I think it is? I think I sent him a record, and I think he just didn't like the song.
Oh, okay.
But you know, man, I'm a Cancer. I'm very emotional, and if I'm drunk every day, I don't have time to really look at it, you know, objectively. Right. You know what I mean? So my thing was, all right, this nigga don't want to work with me. You know what I mean? But he just was like, he didn't give detail. He just said, I'll pass. All right. I'll pass. Yeah. You don't want to hear that. That's like getting rejected when you ask a girl for a number or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
But you take things on the chin, though. Like, going back to what you said, Elliot, with having Renegade, you had Explosive on 2001 as well.
Yeah.
But that became...
Yeah, that was a little different.
Okay.
That was a little different because I had written so much over there. And I got a chance to see Dre's creative process. And it's very... A lot of times Dre will have a vision in his mind and you won't even know it yet. He'll just be building. You know, so when we were cutting, it was more like just clay. We were just cutting clay. And it's his job as the producer to come start shaping everything. You know, I knew The Way I Be Pimpin' is the song that I did over that explosive beat. I knew when I did that song, and one day Ice Cube came up to the studio, and that was our first time meeting him.
Wow.
And he played Ice Cube some songs that we had been working on, but he also played him the beat to Explosive without my vocal. So when he did that, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so he must not be, he must like it.
But not love it enough.
Yeah, we had an issue. He loved the verses. That's why he cut them. He cut the verses. But see, the hook, I didn't know. I was tone deaf back then. So I didn't, like, when I sang the hook, I sang it for Nate Dogg to do. And at that time, it was like, nah, I did the Nate Dogg thing before. Like, he hadn't even gotten to that space where he realized, I think he got to a place where he realized, I got to go back to a lot of my original formulas. I got to get Snoop Dogg back in here. I got to get Nate Dogg back in here. This was before that. He was still saying, nah, I don't want to do that, because it was like he wanted to do something different. There was even a song on my demo that Eric Rhea produced, that he loved, that he wanted to put on the album. And it would not have fit. It wouldn't fit. But that's how Dre's mind works. Yeah. Like, he sees visions and he tries different things, and then he ends up always shaping it into something perfect. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Well, you took that up. Were you upset about that, or how that?
No, I wasn't upset. Okay. I wasn't upset at all. I mean, I wish it would have made the album my version, but come on, man, Explosive. That's like way better than what I did.
Yeah, I can't unhear it with Nate Dogg on it.
Like, it
sounds like two different records. Word up.
On Gotta Love It, you sort of also, you said Detroit like lacks a certain level of unity. You shout out a lot of people at the end of that record. Like, why was that important?
It's important that it comes from me. You know, I think coming from me, it'll be received the way that it's supposed to be received, because people know my history in Detroit. You know, they know that I'm from the absolute messiah of negative behavior and artists going against artists. You know, like artists being killed over the art. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, like Hov say, like, Hov did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that. So when I hear Hov tell me not to drink Belvedere because Puff has Ciroc, it means something to me. You know what I mean? Because he carries himself like a businessman, and I've seen where he came from. Like, when I hear the Tammy lady, what's her last name, Loren, and she talk about him being an ex-drug dealer, that's all she's able to pull from that, it's offensive to me. Because I feel like I've grown with him, and I've seen what he's turned his life into from that. And it made me feel like that it's possible to do that. So all of these things people seen from me in Detroit, they seen me on the Beef DVD. They seen all of these ignorant moments. They heard I was arrogant. They heard all of these things. And when they hear somebody like me say, we need to unify, it means a little bit more. It's like my job. It's my job.
But you felt that was lacking? Like, you shout out like Danny Brown. Or did you feel like overall there's just something going on where there is an issue where people can't seem to unify?
Well, yeah, Danny Brown said a few things about me. You know what I mean? He said a few things about me. So my thing was, let me take a step to really show, like, if I'm going to take some initiative to go in a positive direction. Because it's very easy for me to respond to these things like I did. And every time we see each other, it's a weird vibe. You know, he's managed by Paul and them. How could I ever have a problem with somebody who's managed by Paul? Yeah. And that's from Detroit and is super fucking talented. You know, like, if I don't take these steps, I'm going to keep going down the same negative path, and I'm going to keep getting the same stupid ass results. So you got to lead by example. You got to be the change that you want to see.
Yeah. Speaking of Paul, I saw something where you interview people that be like, well, now, you know, Shady, Def Jam, like, does that mean Royce is going to sign with these situations? And you had said in one interview that it really isn't about that. Like, you have Paul's your friend. You always, you sort of communicate with him in that aspect without the business being done that way. You could always ask him for advice. Yeah. You always get his input. Talk about how
I'd rather get his input on things and not make the relationship weird, man. Like, it's this thing, man. Like, you do something for somebody, and the next thing you know, they want you to do everything for them. Right. I just never been one of those kinds of people. When I was young, I took advantage of Marshall in that way a little bit. And not knowing, though, because I'm so used to having a big brother around, a big brother figure. So, like, we would go to McDonald's and shit. I'll spend all my money. You know what I'm saying? Because I know tomorrow he got money, he'll just buy my McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that taught me, after what I got out of that shit, man, the jewel that I got from it was save your money for your own McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how nice this person is, you're going to become a burden on that person. Me and Paul, we never sat down and said, yo, we're going to be the kind of friends that I'm going to solve all your problems and I'm going to do everything for you. It's just not. Nothing's guaranteed to me just because Paul has this position over there. He may have a vision on how he feels shit should go. I don't know what's going on in his mind with that. None of my business, you know. But if I decide that I'm gonna go shopping to labels, I'm certainly gonna go to my friend first and see. But I'm not sitting back like, oh, Paul over there, we good. Yeah, let's throw a fucking party. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not like that.
Well, you know what it's like. It's PRhyme 2, man. I'm excited for that.
Sunflower Seeds. What's the one where you think is the MC front you're most proud of, like in terms of like for the MCs out there? Like Sunflower Seeds, you popping a little bit out there. What's some of the songs on the album that you think really kind of showcase what makes you such a special lyricist?
It's a song I got called "Do Your Thing." I kind of like. I like where I went lyrically on there because I have fun. Like I'm my most comfortable just going.
Right.
You know, like when it doesn't have to. I remember talking to Black Thought and he was just like, "Yo, let's do some music, man." And he was just like, "Yo, man, send me something whenever. I'll send you something whenever." And he said, "Yo, if it's a concept, I'm gonna take a little bit more time to think on it. But if you want to just go off, I'll send you that shit back the same day."
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's like I just have fun doing that. You know what I mean? So I did that a lot on the PRhyme album. So it's like
you sort of take shot like chick record, big record. Like, you know, it's not really what you guys are about. Chick record, big record. It's gonna play in the clubs.
Yeah, it's
radio
not even,
hit record.
Right.
it's not even that it's not what we're about. It's just I don't think as artists we should go in with that on our minds. You know what I mean? Because it's like we trying to capture lightning in a bottle. That's all we're really trying to do. We don't know when it's gonna happen. We don't know how long we got to sit in the studio. We just sitting there until we know it's right, and we put it out. If it feels right to us, it should feel right to everybody else. Right. You know what I mean? Like the fucking Bobby Shmurda record didn't even have a hook on it. Take that record before he got hot, and you take that record to a program director, they're gonna tell you we can't play this on the radio. It doesn't have a hook. Right. T Grizzly record. Where's the hook at? At the end. You know what I mean?
Meek Mill's intro.
It's Meek Mill intro. He'll perform that for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
It just feels right. We don't know why. We don't know why we love it so much. We just know it feels right.
Is that the most rewarding part working with someone like Premier? He sort of evokes those kind of magic moments. That's probably what's so inspiring working with him, right?
Yeah, even when he's not trying to. Even when he's not trying to. It's about, you know, aligning yourself with like-minded people. We think the same. We vibe the same. I like the guy as a person. He likes me as a person. So when we get in the studio, we don't have to think. We can talk like how we are talking right now, and that's part of the creative process. Me and Preem sit and have hour-long conversations on the phone about anything. It's therapeutic because it makes the music freer.
Right.
We're not sitting around talking about the charts and how much money we're gonna make and what kind of car we're gonna buy because of this song.
Yeah.
That's not art to me.
Or how many spins you got?
I don't even know. I don't even know what a spin is anymore.
But you also working with something with Key Wayne, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm working on something with Key Wayne. Key Wayne is one of those guys I just felt like I had to reach out to. He's too talented for me not to even just be tight with.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? So like Key Wayne is like a friend now. Very elusive. Very hard to tie down over the phone. You know what I mean? Like if you calling Key Wayne and he traveling, he's not gonna answer. Preem the same way though.
Right.
But after PRhyme, are you working on a official Royce album? Like, what would be the next thing? Is that the level?
Yeah. I wanna release more albums this year than I've ever done in a year, and I spent the whole 2017 recording. I mean, I literally was in the studio pretty much every day.
Yeah, talk about Heaven. Like, why did you want to create your own studio? And it just seems special. Like anybody can have a studio or some type of home studio, but it just seems like everything about what you created with Heaven just feels special and unique. Like, talk about why that was important to sort of create this hub.
I created it, but I didn't know it was gonna be that special. You know, like I really just wanted to design something that was based around my comfort. You know, so I'm totally comfortable in there. I knew I like to spend long periods of time in the studio, and I wanted to put myself in a position where I didn't have to look up at a clock. There's no clocks in there. You know what I'm saying? No clocks, no windows. So I don't have to look up at a clock. I don't have to watch the clock. Like I was spending too much money at studios. So that's basically why I came up with it. So when me and Porter got in there, me and Mr. Porter, we shared a studio. He got the B room, I got the A room. So when we got in there, all of these things first of all, he said, Porter told me, he was like, listen, something feel right about this place, because he's real religious. He was like, something feel right about this place, man. Like, this is like the ark. We built it. Now it's going to come. Shit is going to come. As soon as it happened, it was like, I started writing a Broadway play. This is one of the things that's keeping me recording all the time. I had to write a Broadway play, the bar exam, which I released in July. my album, The Book of Ryan, PRhyme 2, and some other stuff that I can't talk about.
Wow.
And that's the most busy I've been creatively ever in my career. You know,
You said the album's coming out with a book too, right? Autobiography.
I didn't get a chance to put the book in motion because of how busy I became recording.
Okay.
You know, I would have liked to have done that, man. Like I originally said that I was gonna do that, but I didn't get a chance to pull the trigger on that. That was one of the things that just kind of fell through the cracks.
Gotcha.
It's like that sometimes. Like we have all these ideas and then we can't execute all of them.
Yeah. Just gonna have to keep giving us great music.
Yes, sir. More bar exams, more primes.
I think we're getting a prime free too down the road. I can't see it happening again.
Who would you say that we should pull music from if we did PRhyme 3?
Is Cannabis got his mind right yet? Nah.
I don't know. James Brown has a nice catalog. You know, so.
Oh yeah, how did it become that idea of like just like a puzzle, like to take someone's like talk about the gentleman who's behind the music of the second album?
Yeah, so that's Antman Wonder.
Yeah,
that's Antman Wonder, and he's basically a composer. He's also a producer, but his strong point, his strong suit, is making these compositions. And you get them in an email, a zip file. You unarchive the zip, and it's like 17 3-minute long pieces of just music going up and down, all in different directions.
Crazy.
And then you just take it. PRhyme just takes it and he chops it, or however he wants to do it. Sometimes I'll take it and I'll just rap on the empty shit, and PRhyme will take it and add drums to a part after, and we'll make the song build that way. It's just another way of creating. But yeah, it started with Adrian Young for the first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Adrian Young.
But that was your idea to take somebody's source of sound and put it in Primo's hands, like.
Yeah, it was Mike Haran's idea.
It was
Mike Haran's idea. Shout out to Mike. So Mike brought the idea to me about Slaughterhouse doing it. We brought the idea to Slaughterhouse. They were like, cool. Like, who can we get that they're known, they're legendary for the way that they sample? DJ fucking Premier. So Premier said, okay, I think I'm with it. So once we ran it by the guys, it was like some of them were kind of into it. Others were just like, all right, whatever with it. And then it was like I laid a couple ideas and I sent them out to them, and I didn't really get nothing back fast enough. Yeah. And I felt like the excitement wasn't there. With Slaughterhouse, man, like when we're all excited about something, it always ends up special. Yeah. It always ends up
Everybody
special.
has to be connected.
When we're not excited about something and everybody's just kind of showing up for work, then we don't really hit our mark. So I didn't want to ruin the idea because I felt like it was a good idea. And since PRhyme agreed to do it with Slaughterhouse, I was like, maybe this is an opportunity for us to finally do that full-length project that we were talking about with just me and him. Let me run it by him and see how he feels about it. Yeah. And I was able to kind of talk him into it through the whole thing, and then here we are. So then now, before we went in to do this one, it was like, do you want to go with Adrian again, or how do you want to do it? And it was just like, I think it'll throw like a little bit of a curveball if we just kind of used a different source for you to pull from each time we went in. And that'll open us up to be able to work with fucking Mad Lib.
So knowing you already,
Frank Dukes. And,
I was gonna say you're already having those prime free discussions in your mind.
It's a lot of people, man. I love to work with. Like and I want it to be different every time. Adrian Young was really, really soulful.
And it seems like those guys have really embraced those projects and the way they come together. Like, how's the you said Antman?
Yeah, Antman Wonder.
How's he feel about the PRhyme 2 project?
I played it for him in Detroit. He flew to Detroit. I brought him to heaven and played it for him. He went crazy.
Oh, wow.
He went crazy. So I was happy that he liked it because I've definitely worked with him in the past, and he told me he did not like some shit. He is definitely honest. Yeah. He's definitely honest. So I was happy about that.
Well, thank you, Royce. Man, finally, man.
Thank you.
I can retire now.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Keep doing it, man. Sure. Thank you, Royce.
Thank
for
you,
real.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, Rap Radar Podcast.
Yeah.